to call out loud and clear to that pusillanimous, cowardly bunch of politicians, and I have to say 85% of them are men, who take it upon themselves to tell women what we can and cannot do with our bodies. Women are the best experts on our own bodies and on our own reproductive needs, and we need to shout that out very clearly indeed. Just the other day, I read a comment in that Bible of commentariat in Ireland Now. I read it in the journal. A man, I think, supposedly on our side, lazily saying, I'm getting very fed up about all of these arguments for abortion. And I just thought to myself, what exactly does he mean? And I think what he meant was that he was tired of hearing the fact that 4,000 women at least travel to Britain every year, the fact that women's health is in danger, the fact that women have died, and that Savita Halappanavar died because we do not have the right to abortion in this country. And I thought many things, but I thought he is behaving as if we should have a new argument, as if anything had changed, as if women suddenly had the right to choose in this country. But during all of my adult life, nothing has changed, and women have never had the right to choose. I think that ex-case legislation is appallingly restrictive. I think ex-case legislation will be, however it turns out, an insult to women. But I also think that the omissions that we are likely to see are appalling. The omission of abortion after rape, or in cases of incest, or abortion where a woman really cannot go on carrying a fetus who will not be able to survive after birth. That, I think, is cruel and sadistic. These are all cruel and appalling aspects of this legislation. But we actually need this legislation, and we need it with suicide risk in it. We need it as a stopgap, so that more women do not die in the interim period before we repeal the 8th Amendment. Because we will repeal the 8th Amendment, and we will get there, but we do need that bridging legislation to give some kind of security to women who are in difficult and problematic situations. I am further convinced that we will repeal the 8th Amendment when I heard on the news today that Mary O'Rourke thinks we should repeal the 8th Amendment. Now let me tell you, if the Grand Dame of Fianna Fáil thinks we should repeal the 8th Amendment, believe you me, it will be repealed. So I'm actually tempted to say Mary O'Rourke for leader of Fianna Fáil. Yes! But we need to be very clear when this legislation comes finally on the table. We need to be very clear that what we are working for is something much bigger, something much broader, and something which really will give us our full human rights as women. And I want to say that to every single person over at the Gender Equality Conference in there behind us in Dublin Castle. There is a huge struggle for women's human rights going on in this country at this very time. And I don't believe they have one speaker in there talking about the issue of abortion in this country today, and that is a disgrace. We need to be very clear that women's right to life in pregnancy and childbirth her is paramount. No pregnant woman should ever be allowed to die if she needs an abortion. But so too, women's health is paramount. No woman should have to go through a pregnancy where there is any risk to her health and well-being, including her mental and psychological health, including if there is a risk of suicide. And let me tell you that this shenanigans that's going on, that is being whipped up by the anti-abortion lobby about not legislating for the risk of suicide, what they are actually doing is deeply disrespectful to our Supreme Court, which is the interpreter and arbiter of our Constitution. It is called the Supreme Court because that is exactly what it is. It is the last word after the people on the interpretation of the Constitution. And the anti-abortionists are behaving as if it is some kind, a ruling from the Supreme Court is some kind of pick and mix bonanza, that you can take the bits you like and you can dump all the rest. Well, actually, you cannot. Actually, you cannot do that. And if the government attempts to do that, there will be a constitutional crisis. Not to mention the fact that the people twice refused to remove risk of suicide from the Eighth Amendment clause, from the interpretation. We have twice said no, and we will not stand for that. And I do think it is a diversionary tactic, because it is really the last leg they feel they have to stand on. I believe, above all, that we have to go on being very, very clear that what ultimately we want is for a woman to have the right to choose. And I would put it to you that we don't even want any law at all regulating abortion. What we want is a medical profession trained in a neutral and objective way to work with women, to allow women to make whatever decision a woman thinks is best for her in her life. And that is absolutely the bottom line. And as we organise to build our right to choose movement and make it stronger and stronger, remember the public meeting on the 8th of May. Remember, we're going out on the streets on the 18th of May, and we need to make it as big as we possibly can. Remember, we are not to be bullied. We're not to be bullied by any small little right-wing, traditionalist, conservative rump of a pack of TDs in Dáil Éireann, junketing off in the USA, or money paid by the bishops and the cardinals in the US. We are not to be bullied by them. We are not to be bullied by a government which I can only describe as a disgrace. A government which attempts to stop women from having the right to choose, and which cares absolutely nothing about children. Do you know that there are 100,000 children in this country today, as we speak, who are living in poverty, and that 250,000 children in this country are at risk of poverty? What kind of government is that to tell us what to do? It is an absolute disgrace, and we certainly will not be bullied by a Catholic Church which has no moral right to tell anyone what to do. We will not go away until we get the right to choose for all women in this country, to continue a pregnancy or to end a pregnancy if that is what that woman needs in her life. We need to keep up the fight, and we certainly will not accept any compromise law. I heard one of our eminent politicians saying the other day, we think we'll arrive at a compromise we can live with. But will that compromise he can live with be a situation that a woman may have to die in? And that is what I say to them. These are life and death issues. They are not games. They are not strategic manoeuvres. They are not the kinds of issues that you make your career on. They are not, and they should never be. This issue should never be in our Parliament. This is an issue for each and every single individual woman as she looks at her life and what she needs and what she thinks will be possible for her in her life. And I respect that, and all of you do, absolutely. Why can they not understand and respect it too? So I say to you, not the church, not the state. Women will decide their fate. Thank you all very much.